Man, I've been so busy working and running my nonprofit foundation, Urban Nerds, that I didn't even have time to talk about Tiffany Henyard's situation. My last video, I talked about that there was another lawsuit where she was being sued by a anonymous man because he would not go along with her plan to her scam, whatever it is that she was trying to run. Listen, we know that we can foresee that Jason House is going to be the next mayor of Dalton, and he's going to inherit a lot of trouble. There's over 50 lawsuits, and now maybe 51 because this is another lawsuit that's pending. And those lawsuits are not going to go away when Tiffany Henyard and her administration go away. Those lawsuits are still going to be there. So he's going to have one hell of a year or two. A lot of things is going to be blamed on him because this woman has just been ruining the city and the township. And then you have the corruption. You have so much. There's going to be so much trouble for a long time in dealing with this city. But there was another guy that was fired because he said that he wouldn't go along with her latest scheme or plot. So he was given his termination papers, and then when CBS News Chicago reported on this, and it went something like this.
Another new lawsuit filed against embattled Dalton Mayor and Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard.
This time by a 20-year Thornton Township employee who says he was wrongly fired after refusing to comply with an alleged scheme by Henyard's team. The lawsuit says Henyard and her special assistant, Keith Freeman, pressured Dwayne Thrash to fire a school attorney and replace her with another law firm. Thrash claims he was offered a $10,000 pay increase weeks prior to facilitating this change. After he refused, he says he was fired less than a month later. We've reached out to Mayor Henyard's team about this lawsuit and have not heard back.
So here she is trying to get people to break the law to get things done for her. And if you don't do it, you'll be fired. Well, y'all remember her former chief of staff? Her former chief of staff alluded to this some time ago and talked about the thing. So, and her, when this thing go to trial, there's going to be so many people testifying against her. So many people. But this is what her former chief of staff had to say. This was a woman that was inside.
Harassment. We have been told on numerous occasions that we will be fired if we do not comply. Numerous occasions that we'll be fired if we didn't comply. If we went to board meetings with the trustees, we'll be fired. If we went to tea with the trustees, we will be fired. If we return FOIA requests, we will be fired. In fact, if anybody been to the village hall, do you remember where the HR lady sat? I had to give up my office downstairs to put her down there so the trustees and the clerk couldn't get to her to ask questions about the money. I had to move 5 o'clock at night. Immediately. I had to move. I had to leave my office, my desk, and I didn't have nowhere to go. I had to sit around float. How am I running the mayor's office and I don't even have a desk? But the HR lady needed to be downstairs, so they couldn't ask her the questions that she needed to ask.
So then you remember former trustee Edward Steve. He talked about that they couldn't even go down to the village and talk to the staff because they would be fired. I mean, she was running this thing with an iron fist. I mean, you would have thought that she was Benito Mussolini and her police chief was Cesare More. That's what you would have thought. I mean, she was just running it ironclad. But let's look at what Edward Steve had to say. Check.
At the same time, when we first got in, there was a level of trust that you can go to the department heads. Even once you got it, you can call the department, you can call the village administrator, and they say, this is what it is, this is what it is. So you had that open communication with the department heads, and all that stopped.
You can even go in there and visit.
Yep.
You know, talk to them and say, hey, what are you doing? I want to stop by, and I need for you to review some things or go over some things with me. With this administration, no one can talk to you. They say they can, they can't.
One time I went over to Public Works when I was there, and I was over to Public Works, and I went, and they said, man, look, the cameras is on you. They know you're here. So
absolutely.
And so it turned into they were scared to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Department heads are scared to talk to you, and so you really couldn't get all the information you pretty much needed.
You never could.
You know what I mean?
And I always feel if a person has something to hide from you, there's something going on.
Yeah.
And when you started getting things that you used to have access to, and that access was no longer granted. It was restricted. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yep. Yep.
And me being in HR for all those years, it really broke my heart to see the employees put in the middle of this fight.
Yeah.
To have to make a choice, to choose. Could I talk to you, or I have to listen to what the administration is saying? You started to mess with people's livelihood,
Yep.
their
Yep.
lives,
Yep.
their families.
Yeah.
So I don't fault any of them for any of that, because again, this is the way that they take care of their families.
Yeah.
I understand that. But me, myself, hadn't been in that position, I would have quit.
So she's just running a very toxic environment. We saw, like I said, we remember Mayor Riley when he was there. We knew that Zuccarelli, she was alluding that Zuccarelli was corrupt and he was stealing money. There's been widespread corruption within Thornton Township and Dalton, the city of Dalton, for years. And now you just seeing just things come, just spill over. They thought that they would be able to control her by putting her in a position when they knew that she was unqualified. They knew she wasn't able to articulate herself right. They knew that she wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. But they thought that they can control her. But her being a trustee for so long, she understood the system. And when she got in place, she played it to her own rules. And with that being said, she created an environment that if you don't do what she say, you get fired. If you do what she say, you're going to jail with her when the ship is sinking, because it's already leaking oil. So the ship is sinking. But there's been a lot of fired employees. And one of these employees was a woman named Shamisha Williams, where she experienced a whole bunch of turbulent things going on in her family. And she was going through a divorce, and she went out on FMLA, and she was terminated. She was one of the ones that was terminated. And she spoke out against Tiffany Henyard and this Tiffany Henyard administration. And it was something like this.
Fellow residents of the village of Dalton, some of you may know me and some of you may not, but I'm Shamisha Williams and I'm running for trustee. I'm 43 years old with 2 children, a single mom, a homeowner here in Dalton. I worked for the village of Dalton for several years as the director of the building department. I was illegally fired while on FMLA. A police officer came to my home to serve me my termination letter while on FMLA. The letter had no author, no reason for termination, and no signature. So I emailed Keith Freeman, the village administrator, to verify the validity of the letter. I received a response that stated that my termination was valid. Recently, mailers went out stating that I forged FMLA documents, which is not true. I was on FMLA because my mom, my grandmother, and both my in-laws all passed away in 10 months. Also, at that time, I was dealing with health issues and I was going through a divorce. The mailer also stated that I'm a disgruntled employee. Well, I am, but not in a way that you may think. I'm disgruntled by how the administration treated the employees, the residents, the business owners, and even the contractor.
So we've seen and heard so many employees that's been fired for going against Tiffany Henyard and her administration. We know about the police chief that was fired because he questioned her police detail and was saying that she had so many police officers guarding her that the streets was unsafe because they should have been on the streets of that small town of Dalton. He got fired for that, and he ended up relocating to the state of Florida. We know about what happened with Fania Dukes and the allegations with trustee Andrew Holmes. We understand that and how she was ultimately terminated. There was just, Shamisha Williams, this other guy. We understand about how she was not giving contracts to business owners because they was doing business with other trustees that she's been allegedly at war with. We know about so much of the unallocated funds. They say that she spent over $1 million for the ice ring. She was mixing money back and forth between Thornton Township and Dalton, Illinois, where there's money unaccounted for. And the Dalton Township is saying they believe that she used some of their money to fund a nonprofit. So people was asking, well, what's taking the feds so long? And I say, well, the feds, they do a thorough investigation. They're doing a lot of interviews. I'm sure they're gonna interview their former chief of staff. They're gonna interview people that was working right with her. And I guarantee you want to start having people turn against her, because once people figure out, well, you stayed working for her and you did this, so that means that you was in compliance with some of the things, illegal activities that she was doing, and you could face jail time. And if you don't want to go to jail, then reveal this. So a lot of this stuff is going to come out, but it's just going to take time. But Trustee House it's looking like he's going to be the next mayor. And he's going to have a lot to deal with. He's going to have a lot on his plate. There's going to be a lot of lawsuits. It's going to get crazy. But I also think that they need to investigate Thornton Township. Andrew Gonzalez, he needs to get up out of there. She had no business being a supervisor of Thornton Township. They should have let that vote go out to the greater Thornton Township to have a greater vote, not just appoint her. They didn't want it to go out for all the mayors and all the people within the township to vote, so they appointed her. He needs to fall on that sword. He needs to be blamed for that, because he gave the last whatever vote or whatever decision that they needed to put her in that position, and I wonder why. There needs to be a thorough investigation on him, and he needs to be the one to fall because of that. The blame should go to him and whoever else was involved in that. But I'm gonna cut this video short here, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. And remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.